Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sitting in my new project car. So if you guys don't know where you are right now or what car this is, keep watching. You're definitely not going to want to miss this one. It is a somewhat unique car in today's world, I would guess, or I would say, because you honestly, at least for where I am, I haven't seen one of these cars driving on the road in easily 10 years. Honestly, like 2010 to 2012 was the last time I could say I remember going out and seeing one of these on the road. Nothing sticks out to me of running into them in a parking lot or even just passing one driving by. They are somewhat rare up here to find in any sort of condition, and especially one with low mileage, 198k kilometers, so I don't know, 150,000 miles or whatever that'll be. It isn't something you come across every day. So anyways, I'll show you guys a little bit of the interior. That would give you a hint, but for a lot of the younger people that watch my videos, you may or may not know that emblem. But anyways, we'll step out and I'll show you guys the car. And there is actually a meaning behind why I bought this. So it is a 1996 Mercury Cougar XR7, and it is built on the MN12 platform that Ford invested like $2 or $3 billion in back in the late or mid 80s, when they wanted to invest money in coupes and newer style of cars. So while yes, you may be looking at some of the styling features or some of the different aspects of this car, you have to think that this car is designed in the 80s essentially. This was the first modern, like, I'm using air quotes for it for people now, modern vehicle of its kind. And the reason being, like, the technology that went into this vehicle compared to anything that came out of the 80s, 90s, where it was just a straight up box, it's completely different. It's completely, this is closer to a modern car than any car of back then. And I'll start with something as simple as the engine and transmission, the drivetrain of this. Now, obviously, yes, it did come with a few different options, including the 3.8 liter supercharged Ford V6, as well as the 3.8 liter NA, which was a complete bone anchor basically. But in this case, it has a 4.6. Another option would be your 5 liter Fox body, that generation of 5 liter Mustang motor with the AOD transmission. This one has the 4R70, so it does actually have a decent transmission, the same or similar ones that would be in a Crown Vic or Grand Marquis, as well as the SN95 Mustangs and all that sort of stuff. Now, this is the facelifted version in 1996. This isn't actually the front end I prefer. The front end I prefer is the 91 to 95, and the reason being is we've had two of them in the past when I was really young, so it always stuck with me, and those were cars that I really liked, so I always tried to find one. Even when I was getting the Crown Vic, I was looking for one of these, but you can't find them. And especially you can't find them in any sort of decent drivable condition. Now, one thing that I'm sure, based on just looking at the car, one thing I'm sure none of you guys are going to realize or even think is true is this vehicle, this 1996 Mercury Cougar, has independent rear suspension. Something that the Mustangs didn't have till, what, 2007, 2005? It never was in a new edge except for the Cobras, so I think that was the first introduction of the independent rear suspension on the Mustang was on the Cobra. I just can't remember off the top of my head. However, this car came standard, you can't even see it, but came standard with independent rear suspension right from the factory since 1989. The only other car at that time to ever feature that was the C4 Corvette. Besides that, well, in terms of American cars, besides that, the Thunderbird, the Mark 8, these are the ones that came with it. Now, the car does have a few little flaws. It was originally owned by a 91-year-old lady. It's a one-owner car, and when she unfortunately passed away, it was sold to, or passed on to, a 65 or 66-year-old gentleman who had it and took care of it, basically for about a year or so. And then it had a couple issues. It had the little dent, the power steering line gave up on it, and he didn't want to put any more into it, so he ended up selling it. So that's when I ended up buying it, and that was about a month ago. So the car was very, very well maintained and very, very well taken care of. Rarely driven. It wasn't wintered. At least that's what I was told. It wasn't really driven much, and it does show because there's only one spot of rust on the rocker panel. And if you know or are familiar with these platforms, you'll know that that's a big issue. Another thing that tells me that is the shock towers, both in the trunk as well as under the engine, under the hood there, are spotless. The very slightest amount of surface rust, not even anything to say like flaking or anything like that. And in the engine, as you saw from when I opened it, is absolutely mint. The interior, besides just needing a good cleaning, the seats don't have any cracks in them, no tears in it. Back seats were never used. Same with the passenger seat. And basically, once it cleans up, it should be a pretty nice car. In terms of the paint is actually in very good shape. It just has regular swirl marks or whatever. I would honestly say that it was probably kept in a garage. Now, I wasn't told that, but based on Ford's quality of paint back in the day, it does not seem to have seen that much sun to get baked, or normally you have the clear coat fading or peeling. None of that. The only issue with this car, besides the rock panel, is this hit. And the only unfortunate part about that is it did actually crack the header panel, and this I just kind of wedged back in here. I have a new light for it and everything like that. I'm gonna try to save the fender because I don't like using aftermarket fenders. They never fit right. You're always gonna have to modify something, and matching paint this old to make it not look like a change of fender is gonna be impossible. So that, besides the power steering, the only other issue mechanical, or it's not really mechanical, but it is the front suspension, the ball joints specifically. If you are familiar with this platform, you'll know that ball joints are notorious for failing. So I will have to change out the lower ball joints, but obviously you guys know how I do my work. I'm never going to just change that. I have upper control arms as well as lower control arms, the strut rod, everything like that, and as well as new struts for it. I'm actually going with coilovers, but I'm going to be rebuilding the front suspension completely. Maybe for now I might just end up doing the ball joints and do that over winter. I still haven't decided that yet. And ideally, I don't mind these wheels depending on how they clean up. It will be lowered a little bit, so I'll have to see. I kind of want something wider on it. And the only issue is these cars came with the 5x108 Ford's front wheel drive, wheel offset, as well as bolt pattern. However, you can swap the hubs and run the Mustang Cobra ones in the rear, and I believe the front, I forget which parts it is you have to order, but either way you could swap it to take 5x114.3, and then you could run Mustang wheels on it, and that's more than likely the route I'm going. This car is the XR7, so it is technically not the base model car, and what that gave it, or at least from my understanding what it gave it, is it has a 327 8.8 rear end, not the 7.5. So the 8.8 327 gears with limited slip. And definitely in all honesty, I didn't drive the car home. I had it delivered. I drove the car maybe 5 kilometers by now, since I just got the power steering done. But I could tell you that to me it feels like the rear end is due for a service. I feel that the clutches and stuff might need rebuilding because it seems to want to act more like an open diff at times. I noticed that even just going up on the ramps with it a couple times, so that is something I will have to address. The car does not have traction control. I believe this one is an ABS option car, as well as it has, like I said, the 4R70. So more than likely what I'll end up doing is putting a JMod, air quotes again, shift kit in it, the JMod, and you know, firm up those shifts a little bit, maybe get the tires to break loose drifting out of first, you know, just the way that the car is supposed to be. But otherwise, interior wise, I will be doing some mods to it. I will be doing a full sound system in it, get rid of the cassette deck, and didn't even come with the optional CD radio or anything like that like ours did. This is not the interior that I'm a fan of either. However, this is unfortunate with the change to due to the requirement to have airbags or whatever in the car. So unfortunately, they had to change to an uglier design in my opinion, and it's just a lot of gray. So I'm probably gonna be switching some stuff up in here, adding some gauges in it, and yeah, just making it a clean, you know, fun little summer car to beat around in. For it having the 4.6 non-PI motor, as well as just a 4R70, 327 gears, basically the same setup as a Crown Vic or Grand Marquis, like any P71 or Sport or LSC or whatever, except the pretty much pre-02s, the older ones. It does actually get up and go pretty good compared to the Crown Vics. That being said, it does weigh a considerable amount less. However, size-wise, for a coupe, the wheelbase on this car is probably one of the longest wheelbases of any coupe ever, which I think that was their thing since the 70s. But it's literally the same wheelbase within 0.3. I think it's within a third of an inch of the Crown Vic. So I believe that's like 114.7 or something like that is what the Vic is. So something around there is what these are. Lengthwise, overall, it's actually, I don't know, maybe 6 inches shorter than the Crown Vics, or at least the Marauder. When I parked it next to the Marauder, that's how it felt. And legroom wise, I'm not a small person, you guys know that, and I sit in this car very, very comfortably. In fact, with the pedal and seat, well, the pedals don't move, with the seat all the way back, I could fully extend my legs in order to drive. I have no issues with comfort in this whatsoever, to be honest. This has more room than most modern vans and SUVs for a driver, and I can't complain. Another cool thing is it's a 90s car with a rack and pinion steering, not a steering gearbox. So the steering on this car is very tight and very responsive. When I get the car all ready to go, you guys will see, I'll do a little drive along, and you guys will follow the build on this one. This one will just be a quick little clean up, get it ready to go kind of deal, and just have a fun little summer coupe just to go with the Marauder and the Corvette and all that. There'll be a lot more videos coming out on the Marauder and the Corvette, as well as the LSE. The LSE is more than likely going to get some sort of boost this year. I was initially thinking turbo, but now I'm thinking supercharger, saline kit, something that's just for a 4.6 that I could do. And it's, as much as I'd like to build a turbo kit or something like that, realistically, the best thing that I could do in terms of tuning and all that would be to get something that's already made for the motors, and something that's been done. Whether or not I build it the same way, and cams and all that kind of stuff is one thing, but at least it'll be easier to tune it. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the future uploads, and stay tuned on this build. This one's actually gonna be really fun. I've been looking for one of these for a really long time, so I'm gonna enjoy this build. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video.